Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Hi, folks. It's Cesar here. Welcome to our show. It is February 17th, 2020, President's Day. We've got a great show tonight. I know there's a lot going on across the nation. We're going to focus on Fairfax County here. And with that, really drill down into some of the changes that have gone on since this last election. One of those areas is in the criminal justice system. I'm very happy to welcome my first guest. Full disclosure, good friend of mine. I donated to his campaign, the Commonwealth attorney for Fairfax, Steve Descano. Brother, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Man, congratulations again.
Thank you.
6 weeks in, how are things going?
Well, 6 weeks in, there has already been a lot of reform.
Good.
And I will say things are going incredibly well. We are living up to the promises that we made to the electorate. We are continuing to move down that reform path, and quite frankly, things are moving quite a pace. And I think that when the people of Fairfax County and Fairfax City hear what we've been up to, they're going to be very, very pleased about what we've done during the first 6 weeks.
Awesome. So you're getting settled in. What are you seeing out there immediately? Some of the impact that some of the changes that have happened just recently here.
Well, probably the biggest thing is on our policy on marijuana prosecutions.
Okay.
On hour one, day one of my tenure as Commonwealth's attorney, I announced the policy and directed my prosecutors to no longer prosecute adults for simple possession of marijuana. And the reason I did it is, for a number of reasons. We know that possessing marijuana is not something serious. It doesn't create a safety issue, but it is something that can really stain somebody's record for the rest of their life. You can never expunge that conviction. It can help you. It can keep you from getting a job, getting an apartment, getting an education. And I will tell you, stopping that is the right thing to do. It's the fair thing to do. And in the first 6 weeks, we are already closing in on almost 1,000 people who have been charged but not convicted of simple possession of marijuana in Fairfax County.
Wow, 1,000 folks. It's a lot of lives altered.
It is. It is a lot of lives altered, and altered for the positive.
Sure.
I've heard from a number of individuals. A number of those individuals stopped me in the hallway of the courthouse and told me how they really appreciate getting this second chance and what it means to them in their future.
Awesome.
And it really goes to show how important this job of Commonwealth's attorney is. It really has a lot of power, but more importantly than that, it can really impact a lot of lives.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you strike me as someone that's really in touch with the constituents you're serving. I mean, I think you got that during the campaign, right? I mean,
oh, absolutely. One of the things that, as you know, because you saw me during the campaign, I would go around all parts of the county,
sure,
and I would talk to individuals and tell them the first time that you meet me, you shouldn't be in a courtroom. Yeah. And it's really important because if you think about what the criminal justice system is, the role of the Commonwealth's attorney, the role of the prosecutor, is to be the community's representative in that system. And to do that effectively, you really need to have your finger on the pulse of the community. You have to understand what the values of the community are, and not only understand them, but put them first, put them forward, make your decisions with those values in mind. And one of the things that I did during the campaign and what I've done in my 6 weeks and what I'm going to continue to do is be out in the community, listening to individuals,
sure,
not thinking of my job as simply in the courtroom, but realizing that a big part of my job is being out in the community, soliciting information, taking that information back, and making sure it's reflected in what the office is doing.
Yeah, and just as an observer, I think it was painful that it hadn't really been done. But thank God you came along and sort of put some feeling and lives and a voice to, quite frankly, people that didn't really have that. And the system really wasn't designed to sort of resonate their sentiments, right?
I think that's right. That's absolutely right. And that is not only something that you and I have talked about, we're talking about it right now, but as I went out on the campaign trail, I heard it from a lot of different people. I mean, we know Fairfax County, it is a big place geographically. It is a diverse place.
Super diverse.
Absolutely, right? And the job of the criminal justice system in this environment is to make sure that we're taking care of all communities, that we're doing justice for every individual, regardless of whether they live in the east side, north side, west side, south side, urban, more rural. It doesn't matter. They should get the same level of justice.
Right.
And, for a lot of people, they felt that they weren't getting that level of justice. And we've seen it. The marijuana prosecutions are a great example of it. For example, we know that Individuals who are African American and Caucasians, they use marijuana at roughly the same rate. But if you're African American, you are 3.2 times more likely to be arrested and prosecuted in Fairfax County. That's not doing justice. That's why it's so important that somebody in my position go out and be in the community and hear from everybody to know what justice means for all of our community, not just parts of it.
No, that's great. I mean, that's all people want. I mean, equal justice for all, right?
That's right.
I mean,
That's right.
What a concept. No, I think that, and early on, those were some of the things I heard you talk about, which is why I thought you running was so compelling. It was really going to change and alter, disrupt, or just modify and really progress the way things were going. And it wasn't like we want to get soft on crime, because crime is crime, right? But then having compassion or empathy for some of these people that get into the situations, right?
It's absolutely right. I mean, first and foremost, you are right. This is not about being soft on crime. It's about being smart on crime. Because I live in this community. We all live in this community together. We want to keep Fairfax safe. We want to ensure that ourselves and our families can walk around and not have to fear for their safety. But that doesn't mean that we don't have compassion, we don't have empathy, and that doesn't mean that we have to be draconian on every single thing.
Right.
That's why one of the things that I've already done in the office, and what I'm going to continue to do, is we're really working on a culture change here. Obviously, we treat serious crime seriously. We do that, and we do that very, very well, and we'll continue to do that. But what I want to make sure that the office starts to do is to really think about things like rehabilitation, things like diversion, things like getting at root causes of why people are doing what they're doing, and also really understanding the power that they have as Commonwealth's attorneys. Because as a Commonwealth's attorney or as an assistant Commonwealth's attorney, you have the ability to make a wide array of choices. And some can be helpful to the community, and quite frankly, some can push someone who is not dangerous down that path of more criminality, more serious crime, and actually cause more safety concerns for the community at large. So it's about changing that culture, getting people to really think about this, and allowing the office and the people who work there to really focus on being smart and trying to serve all of our community.
So again, just as an observer, it didn't seem that was in place prior to you coming in. Do you feel that it's more representative, the people in your office, of the community? I mean, because Fairfax is what, 50% majority, minority, immigrant? I mean, that's a lot of diversity there.
It is a lot of diversity. And it's one of the things that as I put my staff together, I really wanted to focus on. Now, I will tell you that we still have work to be done. There's still work to be done in that office. And it's work that I've committed to doing. But we've already done so much. You know, for example, in the office, I believe there's only one African American prosecutor in that office. Now we have many African American prosecutors in that office, including naming the first African American chief deputy in Fairfax County's history.
Awesome.
We're starting to take a look at things. We made sure that we hired individuals both at the attorney level and the paralegal level who are native Spanish speakers, so that they can converse and build trust in our Spanish-speaking communities. And we're going to continue to do that to make sure that as the office grows, it becomes reflective of the diversity of Fairfax County. Because one of the things that I heard over and over again, and so on the campaign trail, and I really took it to heart, was individuals who would tell me that they didn't feel heard by our criminal justice system. They felt intimidated because there wasn't somebody talking to them that looked like them or spoke the language that they spoke. And we know that when those individuals, when they're victims, and they don't come to get help because they don't feel safe, that just means that there's a bad guy out on the street. That's some person who didn't get justice, and that's a community that's just that little bit less safer than it should be.
Yeah, amen, brother. I mean, what you said it hit home, because we have similar issue in Herndon where, you know, people that are here don't necessarily, it's not that they don't speak the language, they don't understand the system on top of not speaking the language well, right? So the more people, not to replace languages, right, but just can communicate what the intent and purpose is and what the services are, I think is really beneficial.
I completely agree, because the criminal justice system is multifaceted, and it is very, very confusing. But it also, because it is multifaceted, it offers a lot of services to people. If structured the right way, if implemented the right way, it really can help individuals. And that's what we want in my office, is we want to help these individuals. But a big part of that is building that bridge, being able to communicate the things that we can do for individuals.
Yeah.
And while that may seem like a minor step or a minor issue, to the person on the other end of that communication who doesn't understand what's going on, it's life-changing.
Yeah, yeah. And I use my mom as an example on something like that. I mean, she can understand English. She kind of can read it, but put something in front of her that's been translated, now she gets it, right? And that's just amazingly helpful. It goes a long way in reaching people and kind of addressing some of the fear that's out there.
And that's right. And on the flip side of that, we have to recognize that as prosecutors, we need to do a better job of understanding what the individuals in our community, what their lives are like, what their cultural background is, what the norms of that individual community are. Because we talk about how diverse Fairfax is. It's not just where individuals are from, it's how they live their lives.
Right.
And if we want to give services and give justice to everyone, we have to understand that. Not only understand that intellectually, but I think we have to understand it viscerally. Right. We have to really feel connected to these communities and take that information back into the way that we're doing business and make sure that not only can we communicate what we're doing, but structure what we're doing in a way that every individual can understand and feel comfortable with.
No, absolutely. Again, outreach, and people forget that there's like 120 some languages
right.
in Fairfax County, right? So it's not just the language, right? Like you touched on, it's the culture,
right?
Right, because different cultures have different sort of, ways of interacting with strangers and people and so forth. So.
Absolutely, and I will also tell you that this was, something that really stuck out to me during the campaign. Not only is there a cultural difference, but individuals in different parts of the community have described different threats to their safety. Something that is an issue, say, in Mason District, in Annandale, is not necessarily an issue out in Burke and vice versa.
Right.
And it always struck me that how some individuals thought that they were getting better levels of service than others. And I think a big part of it was that we weren't attuned to the specific issues of every individual community. We're looking at it globally. We're looking at it from too broad a brush. And it just unfortunately left too many communities behind.
Oh. So we're about to come to break here, but how are you feeling about this first year, and then we'll wrap into like the rest of the sort of your term. But let's focus when we come back on what you see the rest of this year. Sound good?
I'm very much looking forward to it.
Okay, so we got a lot to talk about, and I want to make sure you're sitting tight. You're not going anywhere, folks. Our guest tonight, Steve Descano, Commonwealth attorney for Fairfax here in good old Commonwealth of Virginia. We'll be right back.
There. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy.
What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Can I tell you another one? So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on it.
What's Beethoven's favorite fruit? Banana.
What is a boxer's favorite drink? Fruit punch.
Mom, I got it. What are you doing in there?
I got stuck.
Are you a dog?
I wouldn't do that. Have you seen the pliers? Where'd you find those?
It's not your birthday.
Sorry.
Bye, Grandpa.
Bye, Grandpa.
Take care of yourself.
What are you doing? What are you looking for?
we're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here, back with you in the second segment here. Our guest this evening is the Commonwealth Attorney for Fairfax, Steve Descano, good friend of mine, and thank you so much again for sticking around and giving us your time.
It's my pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
So 6 weeks in, we talked about how you feel about that. How does the rest of the year look for you?
The rest of the year looks about as how I promised people during the campaign that it was going to look. If you recall, I put out my blueprint for reform. I called it Progressive Justice, and it listed a number of reforms that I intended to bring to the office. And we've already hit a bunch of them, like I said, the biggest one being marijuana, but we're going to continue to make sure we move down that path. We're not hiding the ball. So right now we are working on a number of different things to make good on our promises of bringing a more fair and equal criminal justice system. So we're talking about things like getting rid of cash bail. That's something that we want to tackle.
Yeah, for the folks that don't completely understand it, that's a huge problem.
Right.
Right. And describe the process there, because like if I'm poor and I don't have enough money, what happens now?
If you're poor and you don't have enough money, regardless of if you're a violent individual or likely to flee, which by the way, you probably aren't if you were given the opportunity to pay cash bail. If you don't have enough money, you sit in jail.
Right.
You sit in jail away from your family until it's time for, you can either raise the money or it's
I
time for your
can't
trial.
work.
You can't?
Right. So I have no way to make money that I don't have.
Right.
So, but that's different if I can write a check for 10 grand and I'll see you guys in a few weeks, right?
Absolutely. And
Doesn't sound fair.
it's not. I'll tell you what. It's not fair. It really creates a two-tiered system of justice based on how much money you have, and let's face it, the knock-on effects are incredible. Because if you can't afford even a small bail, that means you're probably living paycheck to paycheck. And if you're living,
Which most people are. Most families are.
They absolutely are. And if you don't show up to work for a day or two, you're going to lose your job. And if you lose your job, you're going to lose your apartment. If you lose your apartment, if you have kids, you might lose your kids. That can all happen in a matter of a few days. And that doesn't keep us any safer. And it hurts that family. There's simply no good reason to have cash bail. It doesn't keep us safe, and it just hurts families. And that's why we want to end it in Fairfax County.
Awesome. So that's good. That's good. What else is on the priority list here?
Another thing that's on the priority list, a thing that we really want to dive into, are diversion programs. When we talked about earlier about being smart on crime, that means when we have individuals who are nonviolent, individuals who aren't public safety risks, if we can help them get at the root causes of their issue, not only are we helping that individual, but we're helping them stay out of the criminal justice system, helping them no longer commit a crime in the future. Sure. That leads to more public safety. So we have some diversion programs in place. We want to expand them. Most notably, we have a diversion program for veterans. Fairfax County is home to approximately 75,000 veterans. Wow. A lot of individuals who did a lot of things for our country, served, and they've come back with PTSD or traumatic brain injuries, and sometimes they self-medicate, and they get involved in our system for little things. Instead of really turning them into hardened criminals, throwing them away, what we can do is we have programs that can actually help them get at the root causes of their issue, help them like they helped us, and also keep our community safe. One of the things that I want to do is expand that program, and we're working on that right now as well.
Great. Any challenges, or I know budget season's coming up here soon, right? So,
well, there is, there are always a number of challenges.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, the biggest challenge that I have, it's a more global challenge, in that our criminal justice system in Fairfax County has not been updated really significantly in over 50 years. Wow. And what that means is we have a system that is well equipped for a rural jurisdiction, a rural Fairfax County from the mid-1960s, but it is very, very poorly equipped for the juggernaut of Fairfax County of today, the economic driving powerhouse of Virginia. So as a global problem, we have to really reimagine our criminal justice system from the bottom up.
Wow. Well, thanks for getting elected and making some of these changes. You just kind of blew my mind with that. So we've got some processes and rules and laws that need to be updated, apparently. Right. So, wow. What else you got out there? That sounds like a lot so far.
That is a lot. And I will tell you what, you mentioned some rules and some laws that need to be updated. Another big part of my job is to advocate for our community, not only in the courtroom, but down in Richmond with our state legislature. Yeah, I'm sure that you know, you've been following the news, reform is in the air down in Richmond. And there's a lot of great opportunities to do a lot of great things. And one of the things that I've done, I've already been down to Richmond 3 or 4 times, talked to legislators, senators, and delegates about priorities for Fairfax County and how we can enshrine some of those changes to our criminal justice system that we need. So it's really about making our system fair, reforming it, not only inside the confines of the courthouse, but being an advocate down in Richmond for Fairfax County so that our delegates and our senators know what's really important as far as criminal justice goes to our community.
Wow, possibly a blueprint for other counties in the Commonwealth?
That is my hope. As a matter of fact, I will tell you that when I got into this race, you know, reforming the criminal justice system, people think of urban jurisdictions. They think of Chicago, LA, Philadelphia. And the response I got was, well, Fairfax County isn't a city. We want to be a blueprint, not only for other jurisdictions in the Commonwealth, but other counties, similar counties all around the country. Because the next time someone says, I want to reform our criminal justice system in X county, they're going to hear, well, X county is not like Philadelphia, but I want them to be able to say, yeah, but it's a lot like Fairfax County.
Own it, man. I love it. You're owning this. To me, you're describing more of a service or a justice where there's excellence, right? You're really like taking it to heart and applying fairness to the system.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. And you mentioned excellence. You know, living in Fairfax County, we all expect a certain level of excellence from our government. We have great schools, transportation networks. Fairfax County is a leader on so many things. And I really believe that given the right love, care, and attention, and the right thoughtfulness, Fairfax County can be a leader in criminal justice. It can really show the way to how we build a criminal justice system that treats our community fairly. And not only that, but actually lifts up our community while making it safe. That's the goal here, to be that leader so that we're building that system that builds the community that we want to live in.
Excellent, excellent. Just seeing the monitor, we have a call from Chris from Annandale. So tell us a little bit more about your plans, long-term challenges, any obstacles that concern you.
Well, you know, quite frankly, again, the biggest obstacle is everything needs to get looked at. I mean, we are doing a full top to bottom review of what we're trying to do. And I will say that, you know, not only is it going well, it's going better than I think anybody expected. You know, I think a lot of people thought that there were going to be challenges in terms of building relationships with other stakeholders in the criminal justice system. And I will confess that I was worried about that as well coming in, but we've put in the work, and I will tell you that we're building the relationships with the people that we need. Not only with our board of supervisors, but with our police, for example. You know, our police and my office have worked hand in hand on a lot of things. As a matter of fact, we've already put it in policies that is going to make the way that our 2 offices work more efficient. Because really, building the criminal justice system that we need from the ground up means building those relationships and putting in the processes to make us be able to work not only harder but work smarter to get the results that people want.
Body cams?
Body cams are a big issue. I'm actually glad you brought that up. And Fairfax County body cams, the program is really going to be started to roll out May 1st.
Awesome.
And we have been working with our police department since day one. Even before I came in the office, we were working, and that's another great example of why these relationships are so important. You know, body cams are going to be a great thing, not only for the community, but for the police as well.
Oh, I've seen them protect the police in Herndon.
I mean,
absolutely.
That's right. That's your experience, right? And when you have a video, it's what you hope from that video is that it's an impartial observer. Right? And yes, you still have to do the right thing with that information, but having that information is a lot more powerful than not having it. I'm excited for the community because I know that that's been a big push in the community. As a matter of fact, I was part of that push to bring body cameras to Fairfax County even before I was running for office. That is yet another piece of building a criminal justice system that people trust, believe in, and really get behind. And that's why I'm so excited for body cameras.
That's awesome. No, I think everything you've said, that's why I love you, man.
I appreciate it.
I want to tread on this lightly. I read a little bit of a DOJ letter regarding a gentleman, Bashir. Anything you can share with us on that?
I've been asked.
For the folks at home, right?
Absolutely, I've been asked quite a bit about the Bijan Gazar case, which, if individuals at home don't know, that was the gentleman who was shot and killed by Park Police a little over 2 years ago on the George Washington Parkway, or right outside the George Washington Parkway. People may know that the federal government took 2 years to investigate that and decided that they were not going to press any charges. I understand that my responsibility to the community is to review this case, to investigate this matter, and go where the facts lead me, take the appropriate action. This is such an important case to so many people in this community. I hear it everywhere I go. And regardless of what Department of Justice, what they did and what they've told me, which that letter you referenced is the Department of Justice saying that they're not going to allow the FBI agents that did their investigation to testify in front of a Virginia grand jury, that if we do bring charges in this case, it's likely that the federal government will take us to court to try to take jurisdiction of that case away from Fairfax County. I know that going into this. But what I want the people of Fairfax to realize is I've heard you. This is an important case. People need to know that their criminal justice system is fighting for them, is doing the investigation, and is going to do the right thing regardless of the outcome. And that's what I told the DOJ when they sent me their letter, and that's what I pledged to you and to everyone else watching and everyone else in Fairfax County.
Awesome, awesome. And that's all people want.
Yeah.
Right, they want a fair shot, equally applied, and whatever the outcome is, people will live with it.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as they know the process was fair to all, so that's great.
And that's what it's all about. This is, this case and any other case, particularly cases that involve, as this case did with a shooting or use of force from a law enforcement agency. People need to know that things were looked at the right way, that the right process was followed, and that someone is looking at it objectively. And from day one, that's what I've promised. Even before day one, that's what I promised. And that's a promise that I intend to keep, regardless of whether the FBI, DOJ, or whoever doesn't like it, because I never forget that I am the representative of the people in the criminal justice system, and I take that responsibility to heart.
Awesome, awesome. Well, so glad you're out there fighting the good fight and on the side of justice there. Thank you so much for coming in. I know we got to wrap up soon, but any last few words you want to just leave people with?
Well, probably the last thing I want to leave people with is, first of all, I want to thank everyone who came out and voted for me and supported me. But just remember, we're out there working every day. Keep us honest, because we'll be transparent, and we're working for you.
Awesome, man. So, again, thank you so much. We'll have to have you back get a little more time for you, because I know you're going to do a lot of great things. Folks, thanks for the first couple segments. Please come back. We've got some very interesting services that you want to know about.
I surrender.
All right, pal. Get ready for the day, buddy.
Hey, Dad. Hey, Dad.
Anything?
Do we have a gun?
What's up?
Do we have a gun?
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made this vacation happen.
Double points with every purchase?
Cleverly merging promotions.
Love it.
Cross-referencing travel sites. And booking all your flights with those...
Vouchers. I got us bumped.
They were like, oh. But now they're like... Aloha. You aced this vacation. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
I tried Oxy at a couple of parties. I thought I had it under control. I didn't know it'd be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
What to expect when you're expecting.
Like here?
A teenager.
Today, I'm going to show you how to teen-proof your home. First step, hide the car keys. Preferably somewhere they would never look. Challenges will come up. Be ready for them. Hi, honey. ready for the...
Mom, you don't use mannequins in the mannequin challenge.
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here again. Appreciate you coming back. We've got a great guest this evening, actually a good friend of mine. Full disclosure, I do volunteer as a reserve deputy sheriff with Fairfax County, and one of the programs I support are what Lori's here to talk to you about. Lori Wymore-Kirkland is the program manager for the Fairfax County Supervised Visitation and Exchange Program. She's had over 30 years experience working with families and children here in our area. She's witnessed firsthand the importance of supporting healthy parent-child relationships through adopting a trauma-informed approach to human services since I think about 2007. She's been a program manager, as I said, of the Supervised Visitation Exchange Program here. And it's part, and if you don't know this, it's part of the Fairfax County Juvenile and Domestic Relations District Court. The program is amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in and talking to us about this. I wanted to have you on for a couple of reasons, because in my humble opinion, this isn't well or generally known throughout the county as a service provided. So first, let's talk about what the service is, and then how folks can kind of get in touch with it or reference people. So let's first talk about what the service is. How did it evolve?
So in 2007, we opened the program.
Mm-hmm.
It was opened at the urging of the Board of Supervisors. They had recognized a real need for safe places for families to exchange children and safe places for parents who are going through the court process to be able to visit their kids.
Right.
If you have a protective order, it may be 2 years before you see your kids again, and a lot of times people violate protective orders because they're trying to get to the children, along with all the other things that go on with that. Catherine Hudgens was looking out her window over the Reston police station, and she saw an exchange go terribly wrong, and the police did not intervene. The mom ended up on the ground, and she was crying, and she was upset. The dad sped off in a truck with the children, and she went down and questioned the police and tried to find out why they didn't intervene, and she found out that the police really don't. So a lot of people will exchange their children after separation or divorce at a police station thinking that's the safest thing. But what happens is that heightens all that anxiety and anger and frustration, and every year around the country there are deaths that occur in front of police stations during exchanges. So that's how we got the program. What's unique about this is we are a juvenile court program, and around the country I think there's only about 15 programs that are connected with juvenile courts. We work very, very closely with our judges, and also with a board, an advisory board of about 25 folks from across different county agencies. We have safe places, they're family settings, as you know, you volunteer, where families can come in groups, small groups, and work with counselors that are right there every step of the way, and they're able to see their kids, and they get an opportunity to build healthy relationships. And we do a lot of support of that. We provide a lot of games and activities.
It's a safe place.
It is a very safe place. And I always tell the parents, you may not want to be here, but your kids want to be here. Someone asked me just recently, well, don't the kids hate coming in there and being with other people? We don't make it like that. We work really hard to make sure that our monitors reflect the community. We use volunteers, we use interns, we use paid staff, and they look like the community of Fairfax. We're very, very diverse. As you've seen.
It's not one group. It's representative of everyone in Fairfax, absolutely.
And we come in with the intention of, how can we help you? How can we get you to the next step? So sometimes we have a parent that's struggling with substance abuse, and our goal is really just to make sure that parent is sober. right? Sometimes it's a parent that's been bad-mouthing or saying really mean and hateful things, or trying to use the child to continue to batter the other parent. We make sure that that's not happening. We redirect, we urge, we nudge, we encourage better behavior, and we give options too, right? There's no instruction manual for your child. So, but we'll sit down with the parent and try to figure out, how do you connect, how do you make this better?
So since 2007, it's now 2020. It's a lot of years, a lot of institutional knowledge. Help me understand kind of the progression. I mean, where it started, because where it is now is amazing, but it probably wasn't always that way.
No, it wasn't. It started with 2 staff and 1 volunteer, and that volunteer is still with us.
That's awesome.
I mean, he's still with us. And we started not really understanding domestic violence or trauma-informed approaches the way we do now. But we began to very quickly see that we needed to make sure battering wasn't continuing through our
double
program.
click on that for the folks at home. I mean, how did you identify that?
Well, you know, things would happen. Custodial parents would come back to me and say, "Hey, Lori, this was said to my child," and I'll give you an example. I had a parent that burst into tears because the dad handed a child a calendar. Well, the calendar looked very, you know, like a calendar. It didn't look like anything. It had teapots and teddy bears on it. And the mom burst into tears. Well, it turned out that that calendar was representative of something that he gave her every Christmas. He gave her a teapot or a teddy bear from this English company. And during their last fight, he had smashed all her teapots. And that calendar was his way of saying, "Hey, you're not getting this again." So we were able to talk to him about not sending messages. You know, it's so important not to send messages to the kids. And you know, you'll have kids that will go back in the beginning and they'd say, "Hey Mom, Dad wants to know how you're going to do this or when he's going to be able to come home." Well, those in the very early stages were the potholes, if you will, that we stepped into. And we learned very quickly. We now collaborate with the Supervised Visitation Network Board. We work with the Domestic Violence Partners. We are very, very closely related to the Domestic Violence Action Center. So when I say we have an advisory board of 25 members from across the community, that's 25 people that I call and weigh in on policy changes, on the way we're doing things, and they also bring in resources. So yes, the county pays for this, and this is a public safety program, and it keeps these difficult things from happening at McDonald's in front of everybody else's kids. You know, we have safety protocols in place. But it's also a program that is supported by the community. So we have a Cub Scout troop that provides us with Lego kits so that parents who come in to visit with their child, instead of talking about, you know, this is my side of the story, let me tell you why the other parent is lying to you, they don't do that. They sit there and they play with the Legos and they put a Lego set together. So a Lego set has a set of directions, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and they can sit there and do that. Or they come in and they have a meal. And when they get off track, we nudge them, because nobody's perfect, right?
Right. No, I think that's, again, for me now, it's pretty smooth. There are rare occasions where it's not, and that didn't happen overnight.
No, it didn't.
So what were some of the challenges early on with the program? Was it people, resources, funding? Because where it is today, it didn't happen magically, right?
It didn't. It didn't. Funding is always, you know, it's a public program, and it could go away at any time. So funding's never a given. But we did have a federal grant for a while, but we met all the benchmarks of the federal grant. We met them really, really quickly. The other thing that we've done is we spend a lot of time staffing each case and talking about how we meet that needs of that family. And I would say it's the staff, and not just the staff, the volunteers. We have individuals that volunteer for us to find resources, to find games, to find toys. We have volunteers that come in and monitor visits, and that requires about 40 to 60 hours of training a year. So just imagine that volunteer that's coming in to monitor a visit, that one gentleman who's been with us, David Klein, for the entire time the program has been open. He goes through 40 to 60 hours of training to come in one weekend day a week, so that he's there with the kids and he's there with the families. So that was the other part of it. And that's part of what's really unique about our program, is now that we're offering training on how we do what we do. We're offering it free, one night a month. It's usually on a Tuesday night. And we have somebody from our agency support system come in and train on some issue that's connected to supervised visitation. Last week it was on how to work with people who've used anger or violence. So how do we recognize what their core hurts are? How do we recognize how to de-escalate them?
Yeah, I mean, defusing an individual, I mean, I've been there a couple times. You just don't do that. You learn that, you're trained, and there's some structure to that. I mean, so again, that wasn't always the case. So were there times where, you know, it got beyond the shouting?
We've never had anything that's gotten beyond the shouting, but we have a whole safety protocol. Again, we have wonderful people from the police department, the wonderful people from the sheriff's department, reserve deputies volunteer for us, and then we have a security task force that we work with. And they actually come, as you know, to our staff meetings before visits, and check in with us. If there's a security risk, we discuss it. I really feel like, you know, knock on wood, anything can happen, but I feel like we've put a lot of protocols in place regarding safety. And some of that, you know, quite frankly, we learned along the way. I guess the first year out, the program was in the basement, so we started in the basement. Now we have a beautifully redesigned center.
Looks great.
At the historic courthouse. If you want a tour, let me know. I'll give everybody a tour that's interested. So we were in the basement, and we had a gentleman who the mom had not brought the child, and he just lost it. And I remember walking him out, and the deputy that was with me looked at me and said, "Oh, you were so lucky," because I just kept talking to him the whole way and walking him out. But the bottom line there is, we are extraordinarily respectful with people. We don't ask what's wrong with you. Again, that's that trauma-informed thing. We look at what's happened to you. Why are you in this place? We use a lot of motivational interviewing, which the juvenile court has really trained people well in. And we say, you want to be here, and yet you're here. How do we get you to here? And we let them do the thinking through. And we try not to be so arrogant as to ever think that we understand their position.
Yeah, just as an observer, everyone that I've seen is very empathetic to everyone in the program. And like you said, there isn't that arrogance or that sort of, you know, looking down at people. That's why I think for me, it's a safe place. When we come back, I want to make sure we talk about more successes of the program and the future of the program. So, folks, you'll want to stay tuned for this one. This is a really, really important service that our county provides for residents outside as well. So be right back.
Old man Hennessy's window.
Correction, dude. You broke. I just threw the ball.
This is really bad. What are we gonna do?
We?
Go to the door, ask for the ball back. Are you serious?
It's my ball, Myrtleback.
You're so dead. I'd run away.
Yeah, to Uruguay.
Kiss your life goodbye. Sorry.
Let's go.
Dad.
See ya, dude. See ya. Remember me and your well.
Nice one. Some friends you are.
Hi. Tell him it was an accident. And we can fix the window. Come on. I'll come with you.
Loyalty. Pass it on.
You go first.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Well, it's a matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about 3,000, nothing very nice. what you desire. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Yeah.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here. Thanks for coming back. My guest with me again is Lori she is the program manager with the Fairfax County Supervised Visitation and Exchange Program. It's a great program, much needed. Lori, again, thanks for sticking around. In the previous segment, we were talking about some of the successes, some of the other resources that are out there. So let's talk about like this sort of national network and how that supports the program.
I'm on the board of the Supervised Visitation Network.
Mm-hmm.
It's a worldwide organization. We have members in several countries and then in every state in the United States. And we do training in different regions, and we're very lucky because they're going to come April 21st and 22nd to us. And there is a cost for attending that, but we are hosting them, and we're really excited about them coming. And what they're really going to do is they're going to look at our program and do what's called a 360.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to evaluate it. How do you administer a program and stay in best practice?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of supervised visitation programs initially came out of child welfare. They came out of well intentions, but people weren't really thinking about outcomes
Mm-hmm.
and research. And now we have a little bit of research. We need a lot more. But we know things like kids are better off when they're feeling emotionally and physically safe when they see their parents. So it's not just having contact with your parent, it's also that feeling of safety.
Yeah.
We also know that kids are better able to withstand and come through trauma when they've had the ability to become resilient. And that resiliency comes from having healthy helping adults around them. And you were talking about the staff and the feeling of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
When we hire somebody, we tell them straight out, this is not a job, it's a mission.
Yeah, it really is.
You are impacting the future. You are these kids' resiliency factor. You're teaching them how to navigate conflict, how to be brave, and how to have a relationship with their parents. And that's an incredibly impactful and exciting thing.
Yeah. And for maybe the folks at home that don't really know, there's a process on how the children get introduced and how they get into the safe zone, and people don't understand that some of these parents have real issues.
They do have real issues, and we've worked with people who have mental health, substance abuse. About 60% of our parents have a protective order.
Right.
A lot of domestic violence, and sometimes domestic violence is physical and sometimes it's emotional, and it's like some kind of mental chess game, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be on our toes. We have to meet with each parent separately. We have to do some background checking, and then we meet with the children, and we make sure that they know that we're safe adults in the room.
Yeah.
And not everybody needs that. We have most restricted to least restrictive. Some of our families just need a safe place. If you're a dad who's never met your child because you didn't know you had one, we're a safe place to have that happen. And we've reintroduced about 5 kids this year who did not know their fathers before coming into the program. And it's a safe space with people around who are willing to talk to you and be there for you and give you a break if you need a break. So that's the other part of it, is we take it where the child is. If the child's not comfortable, we stop the visit, we take a break, we take a walk, we play with Play-Doh, because if you get your hands moving, you feel less anxious, you get out of your anxiety brain and into your thinking. Yep, sure. Absolutely.
No, I think that, to me, it's a safe zone. I can't stress that enough, and it just feels that way. And again, that didn't happen overnight. There's got to have been some design and thought put into how that all interaction works, and you separate, potential rooms and so forth. So.
Well, there was a lot of thought, and I have to give a shout out to our interns as well, because we use them for research a lot. So when they come in, I have 3 right now in the program, what they're expected to do is they're expected to research and look at those professional journals and articles that it would cost me way too much money to do, and to find something that we need in the program. They're expected to look at those national standards and what our policies and procedures are, and what I do is I challenge them, find where we're not doing what we need to do. So it's not just a top down, it's not just what the administration says down to the staff and the interns, it's what the staff feels and how they build on that. The other thing is I have great case managers. So we redesigned the program about 3 years ago, and each case manager, there's 4 of them, have cases assigned to them, and they check in with the parents during visits, after visits, and then they call them at least once a month when it's not a visitation time and it's not about a schedule issue. They're just checking in. And again, it's that building of that respectful relationship. We also try to connect families with whatever resources they need. So Thanksgiving, you may have been around, we did 40 turkey baskets that came from a local church, from Good Shepherd Church, a shout out to them. At Christmas time or in the holidays, if somebody has a need, we try to find a community organization that will help us support that. And again, we just have this incredible network of people that are willing to give and support these families. And think about it, the fabric of our whole community is based on families, and every one of us knows someone who's gone through a bad situation. And a child is in a bad situation. We do serve mostly income eligible folks, but a good number of our people can afford outside services, but they'd rather use ours until they're through the court system, because we have such high standards. And again, we're working to support and train those outside agencies. Any agencies that is providing supervised visitation can come in and train with us, and we'll work with them. Right now we're working with Arlington County even for the Safe Havens program.
So let's touch on that a little bit. What's the future of the program? Expansion, I mean, where do you see it 3, 5, 10 years from now, or sustaining it?
I hope it grows. I hope that best practice will become the benchmark. I hope that we'll make sure that we're being neutral. Other families come in from other programs, and sometimes they've talked about their cases in front of the children, and the children know way too much about what's going on in that situation. It's really hard. Or they're doing things like they're not keeping the parents separate during drop-off and pickup. There's just a number of things. We had a family who came to us for exchanges until they could do them on their own, and the 4-year-old, they had been paying a private provider, and the 4-year-old got loose in a parking lot and darn near got run over. But again, it's those simple things. It's because we've thought it through. We didn't know Cesar when we started. This is something that we spent a lot of time thinking and talking about and working through. We have a lot of families that are on Route 1. We would love to see services, South County, we'd love to see services more accessible to them. We don't have the...
Yeah, because the courthouse is a haul.
It is a haul. It can take some people 2 hours to get to us.
If you have a car.
Yes.
For those that don't, right?
Yes, and then we've realized how some of our families have not been able to utilize the service because they can't get to us. So we're starting a transportation pilot. And again, one of my case managers, my assistant director, came up with that very creative program. And we're going to see about having volunteers work in teams to go pick families up and bring them to us. But that's only part of the answer, right? We need services in all parts of the county. The other thing I'd like for us to see is we're right now looking at a parenting education pilot.
Preempt all this.
Yes, yes. So we're working on looking at what curriculum we choose and how do we coach a parent without supporting somebody who's trying to use the children to get at the other side, but we want to help them know how to respond, because kids are not born with a parenting manual attached to the toe. It just doesn't happen.
No.
And so we have to sit down and be in a kind of a situation or an environment of support, but also accountability.
It's a lot here. Where is this available? Information, website, Facebook pages? I mean,
so you can Google Fairfax County Supervised Visitation and Exchange Program, and our website will come up.
Okay.
And if you want to see the experience through a child's eyes, there's a little animated video that's right there. And you can watch that. We also have our parent handbook there, and we have a What's Next. I want to use the services What's Next. And we are only open to Fairfax County residents. Again, Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, they do the best in terms of seeing what's needed in the community and reaching that community with what's needed. Arlington has a program. Alexandria, I met with some officials there. They want it, but they haven't done it. I met with the juvenile court out in Loudoun as well a couple of years ago. So other folks in the local communities want to have this program, but they haven't figured out the pieces of it. But I go back to the public safety. How much does it cost every time we send a police officer out to Chick-fil-A to solve an exchange that's gone terribly wrong? And you know, how many people have to get hurt because domestic violence is just perpetuated over exchanges?
And there's no way to really measure the impact on the child long term.
There isn't, and yet we know from adverse childhood experiences. There is a study that Kaiser Permanente did, and it's a huge study, and every part of our being is impacted by trauma and stress in early childhood. Your heart, your diabetes, your emotional regulation, every part of us.
Budget season's coming in soon. So let's make sure everyone knows that this is a great program, that this should be expanded, and make sure we lobby the correct supervisors to make sure it's there.
Nothing would make me happier. I think this is one small thing, but it's a big, huge thing in these kids' lives.
It really is. And just again, as someone that's been from the outside, I can just see the children feel safe in this environment, and you can tell that they're not always comfortable feeling safe, right? They almost don't know what to do. But I mean, there's enough healthy adults there where they do feel safe. So, and then once they get over the awkwardness, then they don't want to leave, like you said, right?
They don't want to leave.
They don't want to leave. So.
And we want the parents to feel safe too, and we want everybody to take that next step.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this with us. I know we've been talking about having this opportunity, but I will tell you, it's been a real reward for me to be able, it's been a privilege to give of my time. It's something I think more people should be aware of and more people should be doing, because this leveraging this service is what really will change some lives.
Thank you so much, Cesar.
No, thank you, Lori. And I hope we can help rally some folks to get some arm twisting on the budget. Folks, thank you for joining us. Like I said, this was really important. I wanted to share this with you. And remember, Fairfax County Supervised Exchange Program, Supervised Visitation. We'll see you soon.